Welcome, flip clock fans. We're looking at flip clocks on eBay, and I just wanted to see what was going on these days in the prices. Not really in the market for a flip clock at this time, but just kind of digging around. And as you guys know, sometimes the clocks go for really high dollar. You may consider this high dollar here. Whether they sell for this or not, I don't know. Now, sometimes you'll see some good prices here. Here's a clock, the Cameron, that they say needs to be restored or fixed. So that's actually a good price for the Cameron. Somebody will probably snatch that up. And some of these others, you can see they're pretty high priced. So what I like to do is I like to go and look at the highest price first. Now, this fella here, he doesn't expect to get $22,000. I think he likes to be at the top so that you click on his stuff, and he's got quite a few flip clocks. I wouldn't troll this guy. I wouldn't send a message to him and ask him if he's crazy. The reason is I did that once, and he disallowed me from bidding on his stuff for a couple years. He does this. It's just his style. He likes to get these clocks up here, and he will work with you on the price of a clock, so he has worked with me in the past. You can see here, this is a clock from Japan, and it's a really high dollar. It's mint. But I was digging around on here, and what popped up was this. The Arthur Umanoff Rosewood flip clock, Howard Miller, George Nelson, the MCM 1960s. Trying to get everything in there. So what's going on with this clock, and is it worth $1,550? All these names, Howard Miller is the name of the clock. It is a Howard Miller flip clock. George Nelson was a designer of mid-century modern, what they call that now, mid-century modern, around the 1950s, 1960s. He was a designer of furniture and clocks. He did design some clocks for Howard Miller, but the consensus is that he wasn't the designer of this clock. It was Arthur Umanoff. Same thing. He was a designer mostly of furniture, but he designed some clocks for Howard Miller as well. So it is a rosewood flip clock, and as you may know, rosewood is a very expensive wood. It's a beautiful wood. There's a lot of illegal trade in rosewood these days. They call it rosewood because if you scratch it, it actually has a very sweet scent, a very sweet smell. So it was an expensive clock back in the day. You could see the clock would run $55. It was in the newspapers from 1969 to 1971. If you compare it to what else was selling, you got a Sankyo over here around 22, a Seth Thomas about 37, and the GE you could get for $9. So did people buy this clock, or was it rare? I have a feeling it wasn't a big seller. That's why it is so rare, and it rarely comes up on eBay. And when it does, it has a high price. Now, I made a video about the Howard Miller, and I went into a lot of detail. And 4 years ago, it was going for about $1,000. So I don't know if he's going to get $1,500 for this. Is it worth it? Well, it depends on what your tastes are. Is it going to go up in price in the future? Is it a good investment? Don't know. We may be at the top end of flip clocks. But I was blessed enough to get one. An elderly gentleman had this clock, and he was liquidating his stuff. He was towards the end of his life, he said, and he wanted someone to have it who could enjoy it. So we worked out a really good deal. I didn't rip him off, but I'll just say I got a really good deal for it. His cylinder was warped, so I was able to source some plastics and replace that. So it does lend itself to being restored. And the mechanism itself is from one of my favorite clocks. It's from the Copal 101. So this is just a Copal 101 mechanism in a plexiglass cylinder with some beautiful rosewood ends. So is it worth that much money? Well, you've got to make your own decision on that. You can put it in the comments what you think about that. As most people say, it's worth what people will pay for it. I don't know if it'll go for this. I am watching it. I want to see where it goes and how it ends up. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Let me know what you think about all this. Thanks for taking the time.